And then solid waste. So rates for residential service for return service, bringing carts back, I believe, is second occurrence would be about a 1% increase. Third occurrence also 1% increase, or 10 cents and 20 cents each. Rates for recycling mobile containers per month, specifically for the 12-yard container, we would propose a 3% increase, about $2.85. Rates for dumpsters and mechanical containers, we have a combination of things going on here. For the rental and tax portion, we do not propose a change. One time per week, we propose a 4.9% decrease. 2 times a week, 4.7 increase, and then as we go down, 9.4, 14.2, and 18.9% increases, which is several dollars throughout and larger as the times per week goes up. And then rates for solid waste processing facility access service, the transfer station tipping fee, an increase of 4.4% at $3.55. The inert demolition materials, 4.4% increase, $1.45. And then for mixed materials would be 4.4% increase as well, but that's about a $2.50 increase. So new water permits, fees, and charges. These, I've just put page numbers in here because they're not really a comparison to previous years. We do have a relocation of meters. It's based on the size of the meter and if there is a new tap of the main, no new tap of the main, or a street cut. Meter box adjustments, either horizontal or vertically, charges for those based on the type of adjustment that's required. A resetter installation fee, and then a water service disconnection fee, and we've broken this one out specifically to allow for fees for those that need street cuts and those that do not. Bacterial testing was previously, the fee was charged at a lab rate per hour, lab time per hour, and we've adjusted to a weekday sample for $20 per sample or a weekend sample at $145 a sample. Pressure testing fees performed by a contractor is a new fee. And then commercial single stream recycling, an additional commercial recycling cart on page 29, which you'll hear from Tim Davis more on this evening. And the farmer market vendor fees, which are not necessarily a new fee, but have gotten quite a facelift. The new fees for Parks and Recreation include a crop harvest fee, those new Skyhawks camps that we'll bring on next summer, and then mini junior and junior golf lessons, adult sports, and that includes a field setup fee for private use. And then general recreation programs, we've got a list there. Those are listed on page 23 to 27. Quite a few new tree programs this year, some other camp adjustments and things like that.
Jen, explain the crop harvest fee for me. I'm not familiar with that one.
We own property that we lease, or I'm looking to Gary to make sure I get it. We own property that we lease that a farmer farms. And so that lease
down by where the ball fields, the failed ball fields thing,
over Palouse River Drive.
Right. So we're charging them to harvest.
Yeah.
I mean, we lease that to them, and then we get a cut of the deal.
Yes, hay.
Yeah. Hay.
Yeah. Okay.
$7.
Yeah.
It saves us mowing it and keeps the weeds down, and we get a little bit of money.
Yeah, I was not aware of any other crops that were harvested.
It's the only one that we account for. Yeah. So just to give a little bit of background on the farmers market vendor fees, since they are considerably different than any of the other fees we're discussing this evening. We typically had, or in the past have had, a walk-on and a seasoned vendor type approach to our farmers market fees. What the Commission has spent the last 6 months doing, as we presented back in February, is to propose a more equitable system for fees for vendors. We found that walk-on participants at the market were paying considerably more than seasoned vendors, while if you compared their attendance, their participation, they were participating in the same way and they were committed in the same way, regardless of their designation. So the Commission has discussed several options, and we've come up with this particular recommendation to look at a more tiered system. With 3 different tiers, we'd still have a seasoned vendor type participation rate. Tier 1 would still provide a walk-on type participation rate. Tier 2 would provide that middle ground, which we didn't really account for in the old system, providing some benefits for vendors along the way. The more markets you commit to, the better guarantee we can give you for the same location at the market each week, which we heard was a high priority for many vendors. This also gives the vendor the flexibility to choose just how many markets they'll attend while still paying reasonable amounts for their participation. I'll go through a few more items here. On the left is the current structure. Seasoned vendor prices on top and walk-on vendor prices on the bottom. To the right, this is how the fees would break down. Would provide for a daily booth fee and a registration fee. And then the same amenities that we have now with shared booth space, table spaces, those vendors that have or spaces that have access to electricity, truck parking, corner parking, child vendor, which I think we're gonna call it a youth vendor, and performance art have not changed. They were not considered in this review. So the average cost difference that we saw with the walk-on versus season can be seen on the left, with an average of $32 per day paid by a walk-on vendor versus a season vendor paying about $15 per day. And this is based on 24 markets, which is the requirement per policy for a season vendor that you must attend at least 24 markets. And then on the proposed with the tier system, we'd range from $35 to $20 per day, depending on what tier the vendor self-selected. So just kind of evening that curve out a little bit, providing for a more equitable structure.
The tiers again being how many?
Tiers, first tier would be 1 to 8 days, tier 2 would be 9 to 17 days, and tier 3 would be 18 to 26 days. So just quick budgetary impact. Typically, vendor fees have covered about 43%, whereas this proposal would put that at about 33%. We have increased our costs a bit with which is an amazing, and thank you very much, Council, for allowing that, bringing our market manager on full-time. He's actually viewing the eclipse, otherwise he would be here tonight to talk about fees as well. So just another breakdown of those fees in a table format instead of a bar chart as well. So the overall impact would be the same amount of vendors could easily participate. They would just be in different tiers and then would be allowed to self-select their level of participation. And then we would also provide for a more equitable standing for fees to be charged. And that was the goal of the commission in providing that equity so that in future years fee increases wouldn't be as potentially cumbersome and as confusing as they may have been in the past. We hope the system provides considerable more clarity and allows for, as we said, more equity amongst the vendors who are participating for full market seasons.
Okay, questions for Jen before we open the public hearing?
Art, may I just say that the Administrative Committee heard this proposal at last week's meeting and asked a fair number of pointy questions about it and approved it to go forward to this meeting.
Thank you, Jen. With that, I am going to open up the public hearing and comment from those. Please come forward concerning our fee resolution. We have nobody rushing forward, so I will close the public hearing and turn over to council.
Well, I'll say the Administrative Committee asked questions. The revenue overall is supposed to be neutral, not a lot of difference, and in future fee resolutions that can be adjusted if things aren't working the way that things ought to be. And so with that, I'd like to move approval of the fee resolution.
I'll second that.
Okay, further discussion. Walter.
Art, I don't know that I understood you. I think your comments regarding revenue neutral had to do with the farmers market changes.
Yes.
Not with the
Yes.
fee
Yes,
resolution, which raises revenue considerably.
No.
Okay.
Right. Thank you for the clarification.
Gina.
I just want to, like I do almost every time the farmers market comes up in front of us, applaud, dance around, say very, very, very positive things about what a monumental effort this was. Having served on the commission for a couple years, we were somewhat like a giant herd of cats, and it was it's very nice to see such an elegant solution to what was just a very, very difficult situation. So thank you very much for your volunteer hours. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, with that, Art made a motion and John seconded to approve the FY2018 proposed fee resolution. I will start to roll with John.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes, and ladies and gentlemen, you got a chance to see how many different structures we have throughout the city. the city, like Parks and Recs, provides all kinds of different service levels and all kinds of different programs, and every single thing that we do does cost money, and so it's part of it. But